Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you all for coming tonight. Look around this room, everybody. Just look around the room. We are the change we need. The change makers are in the room at various levels, of various disciplines, of various ideas. This is where it begins tonight. The idea of Oakland and the East Bay being a more accessible place to film has been tried many times before. I'm sure some people have tried it in this room, sitting up here. But recently we have come together to we're going to give it one more shot, all right? And then another shot after this shot. This is the shot right now. So I think people don't, maybe not everybody, I'm sure some people in the room know, but generally I want everybody to speak on what are the challenges of like, I have a script, I have a film idea, and I want to do it here in Oakland or in the East Bay. What are the challenges that happen? Because I think a lot of people think, then just do it. What is the thing that stops it from happening more often? Raf.
Where do I begin? No, I mean, we started doing a couple years ago, me and David started doing these salons here just to get writers and filmmakers together and talk about what a lot of those problems are. I think for us, when I was coming up, there was no example of people that had really made films from here except for one or two people, but there wasn't like an industry of people that you could look at and go, oh yeah, so-and-so went to Skyline and they went off and did this, or so-and-so went to Castlemont and they went off and did this. You couldn't really trace those lineages well, and so it seemed like this fantasy. So I think a lot of young people aren't even dreaming into the idea of film. Now there's a technological gap that's been closed a little bit, at least for people to be able to start. But the idea, like, to get people to understand what it means to, like, oh, I want to go make a movie and that thing's going to cost $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. To not have that, just have you go, never mind. But to go, no, that's feasible. Think in those terms. To dream in those terms, I think, takes a collective effort of not just educators and nonprofit organizations, but also institutions within the city that are going to foster people to dream into that pipeline, and also understand that it's not just that person's dream, but that person is dreaming into an employment opportunity for hundreds and thousands of people. And that's what that actually is like when someone says, oh, I want to make a movie, I hear, you want to be a job creator. Great. What is that going to mean for everybody around here? And so I think when we talk about doing it here, it's like, well, what's the pipeline up? So when people finally can make something, they can bring it back here and hire motherfuckers.
And I would like to drill down a little bit. Everybody would think, oh, you're doing Blind Spotting. It's about Oakland. Why don't they, specifically talk about that show, I'll just do it here. Why'd you do it elsewhere? Just do it. I know you shot some of it here, I want to be clear. But why couldn't you do the whole thing here?
Well, one, because the studios don't have the love for this place that we do. They don't care. They're not sitting around going like, man, you know what we got to do? We got to support Oakland. They don't give a fuck. Like their job, and that's their gig, and just, know who you're working with. Their job is to find the cheapest way to do a thing. And so if there's all this infrastructure somewhere else and local crew that's been fostered somewhere else, I got to prove dime for dollar why it's a better thing to do in the place that we're shooting it in. And it's hard to make it quantifiable when you say there's an essence of a place that needs to be captured. I can't put that on a spreadsheet, which means that I gotta put my reputation on it. I gotta put the burden of it on my crew. And so what we do is we go day for day. We go, how much does it cost to shoot in Oakland on one day at a time? How much does it cost to shoot on a lot? And we buy ourselves days in Oakland by shrinking what we're shooting other places, by finding places to cut. But that's an absurd thing to ask productions to do. It costs so much money and so much effort. And so ultimately what we're trying to do is to get to a place where I can look on a spreadsheet and go to a network and go, hey, this story is really site specific to this place, and it won't cost any different to shoot it there. Which means that you're now out of the equation because they're just the bank. I'm making a creative decision. But that means that now I'm using local crew instead of bringing people in. That means that I can hire entirely local crew. I can foster people that are coming and, they're on their first, second, third job as a DP, and I can give them their fourth and a TV credit, which means that they can now work not only here, but they can work globally. That's a different kind of planting seeds. And so I think the struggle is always, all right, I know how to go out and fish and bring as much back as I can. And that's the hustle that people have been on for a long time. The whole time I was growing up in music, there was all this hostility towards motherfuckers who went down to LA to try to get their career off, but it's like, but there's a ceiling here. we gotta, like, people gotta go fish where they can. I'm looking for the people that come back and go, okay, now that I've got a little bit of gas, what can we do here so that the next cat who has an idea for their blind spotting, their whatever, it's just not as hard. It shouldn't be this hard for everybody.
For real.
Yeah.
Favi?
I mean, I think let's do bird's eye view really quick. And that is that the culture in Oakland, what we can do here as creatives, I'm not a filmmaker. I'm a filmmaker adjacent. I love my filmmakers. I'm a visual artist, and I'm an interdisciplinary artist. But I'm committed to changing hearts and minds. We need that right now. Our world needs that. The fastest way to do that is film and TV. And if there's somebody who's changed this industry, it's Ryan Coogler. I mean, from the moment he did the story of Oscar Grant to Black Panther, I mean, that demonstrates to you the power of storytelling through film. So we've established that film and TV is the way to reach people the fastest and change hearts and minds. Imagine Oakland stories that could be done in Oakland, which opens the door not just to filmmakers, but to all kinds of artists, set designers, musicians, right? Cooks, dancers. And so what we have to understand as a place where investment in culture has simply not happened. And it's extremely disappointing given that across the bridge, San Francisco is the national model for arts funding, right? Like, if I'm an individual artist, I could get a $15,000 grant, maybe $20,000, $25,000 grant. In Oakland, maybe $5,000, an amount that has not changed for many, 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 many years. I mean, our art department, I think, is our arts commission, about $1 million. That's nothing for a city our size. And so the bigger issue here is that we have crumbling cultural infrastructure, and yet the model for film and TV is also across the bridge in San Francisco, where you have the San Francisco Film Festival, you have SF Film, you have a city that is generative, that actually has infrastructure as in permitting, a film office, incentives. And so what needs to happen is we need to replicate that here. And we at least need to meet what San Francisco is doing. And I think I believe strongly, because of course a lot of my artist friends are like, well, is this just a Hollywood thing? And no, it's actually about opening the door to a cultural industry that can create jobs for a lot of people. And film and TV is the winning path. And so when we hear what Rafa's saying, it's not just Rafa, it's Boots, it's the creator of Earth Mama. It happens over and over again. We're leaving dollars on the table. And that's what has to change.
There's
Hold on. Cheryl, I want you to weigh in on this.
Oh, okay. Well, I started Word Mama was based in Philly, and I used all of Philly to make the film. And Philly is a lovely chocolate city, and I only believe in chocolate cities, so here I am in my other chocolate city. I was also not born here, but I'm still learning how to be, Oakland. But I've made it my home, and I'm trying to do that here with my work as a, queer woman of color. Bring it, it's the Bay Area. There's hella gay people here. You know what I'm saying, right? Hella gay. Yet alone, people don't even know about Marlon Riggs, right? I mean, people don't remember Marlon Riggs. And then who came after Marlon? And then who came after that? There's no real legacy of folks who are queer of color, who are whatnot, who are making large feature work in this area. And it disturbs me. I mean, shows come in and out, loving this and that. It just breezes through, but nothing of a legacy that in a revolution happened here. A queer revolution happened here for many folks. And it's disappointing. So here I am with my company, Jingletown. There's some Jingletown folks in the house, trying to do it again, and we're struggling. We're struggling to do that here, as Rafa said, to keep it here and not have to bring in other talent or equity from other communities, from obviously LA or wherever, to do it. And it's just very disappointing right now, but we can do it together, and that's what I really feel like. We're about to make that change right now. That's why all of you are here, and why we are here. So let's kind of, do that together. Really, right?
I was just gonna say that the thing that I value so much about film and television as an advocate for a city, but more importantly for a community within a city is I'm sure all of us have seen over time, especially when Oakland was being like gentrified hard first by the New York Times, calling it like the next place to live when there's hella of us living here. What the fuck? You know, what you mean next, cuz? But so many other people, whether it's in music or pop culture or even even just across the pond in San Francisco, so many other people and places have had control of the narrative of the East Bay in general. And what I love is seeing filmmakers that take back the narrative and go, no, we'll do it. We'll tell you what it's like here and what it's about here. And so what I'm mostly concerned about generally, because a lot of us live through the mass gentrification of the East Bay, which has been, which has completely changed the landscape for a lot of communities. And I see the same thing when people start getting fascinated with the city. They're like, there's been plenty of, shows have started to come and shoot here, but no one is involved from here. And you see it on TV, and they're like, "This is supposed to take place in Oakland." You're like, where the fuck is that? While at the same time, me and David and Boots and Ryan, when he was doing Black Panther, maybe a third of our show was shot here. Boots, very little. A lot of it's in New Orleans because they got the tax breaks, and it just feels foolish to do that. Those people, that group of people, are leaving to go do it somewhere else because they don't want to. So there's these massive, massive barriers. All the while, other people get to keep painting the narrative of this place. They get to bring their businesses in. They get all the permissions, public funding, buildings, get to fly in all their employees to take over Emeryville, then Berkeley, then Oakland, and San Leandro. And they control the narrative. And for me, I think what I'm most focused on, I think what everybody's really excited about is to go, when we say we want to just control that narrative, it's like, if the profile of Oakland and the East Bay matches us, then all the art, all the commerce of the people here breathes easier, thrives more, because we're gonna wanna support those businesses. When we come into town, we're gonna hire local restaurants, the restaurants we've gone to our whole lives. All those places are suddenly gonna get promoted more and pushed more because the actual essence of the place is breathing and living. I think that's why we're thinking of film and television as an entry point for mass sort of community engagement, just to be clear.
Yeah. And I love what you said about this being about not just everybody being a writer, director, or producer. I mean, it's everything. Lawyers, production designers, hair and makeup. Hey, this is the Bay, right? You know what I'm saying? We rule in that class. But locations, there's so many other, financing. It's not just becoming, I need to be a writer, director. I want to get to Hollywood. It's not like that. It's like, there's so many parts of this industry. Lawyers. Damn, do I need a good lawyer? You know what I'm saying?
I got you.
Okay, all right, great. Thank you.
I mean, I think that's a big part of it. When I think about this, so much of showbiz is boring. And I think we get focused on the top of the face of the people who are the face of the thing or who are the directors of the thing. And most of the jobs are not on camera. Most of those jobs are jobs you can learn. You don't have to have any talent for. You can just learn how to do those things. There's so many times on set you're like, what does that guy do? He's in the union. Never mind. But and I think part of this for me is about really making people understand that this is, yes, we want to create the next, Rafael Casal and David Diggs and Ryan Coogler and Cheryl Dunye and Jocelyn Rose Lyons and all these people, but also it's just a jobs program. It's just a very boring jobs program that you get to watch the results on television when you go home. Jobs. So let's get into the specific solutions if we can, what you all see as the things that because we are in this moment where this is not a overtly political act, but we are in the middle of we know that the government of Oakland right now is open to these ideas and open to being, and some of them are here. So thank you for coming.
Shout out.
So this is not like some pipe dream. We've actually started to meet with those people in the local government to say, this is what we need. So let's let these people know what we need. Who wants to take that one on? Specifics.
Yeah, okay, so...
the next mayor.
Yes. I'm trying to be an artist, yo. Okay.
Yeah.
So, first of all, what we thank you, Kamau, for naming that. We do have, it's a unique moment because although we've been organizing as artists and cultural workers for a long time, we actually now are in a moment where a lot of folks here have power, we're organized, we have institutions, and we have an administration that's excited to work with us, right? From the mayor to Nikki Bass, who's in the house. Carol Fife, where you at? Where you at, Carol? Yes. Yes, okay?
Nancy Skinner.
My revolutionary sister right here. So this is really a three-part approach. Number one, we need an incentive. We need a tax incentive similar to what our homies in San Francisco have, something that incentivizes the studios to invest in here. And I believe that for every dollar that is incentivized, the figures for San Francisco are coming back at $13.75.
Yeah. So for every dollar that that is rebated to a film crew, they are spending $13.
Yes. So we need a number one, an incentive, because that begins to kick things off. Number two is we need to address space. Artists, the number one thing they need is spaces, right? Whether that's spaces such as this beautiful Mama Dog Studios, right? But also spaces for artists to convene, for filmmakers to run into the hallways of each and connect and talk. Because as artists, we work best when we're not in isolation, when we have community. And you all know that because of gentrification, for artists to live in Oakland, all types of creatives, is extremely difficult for many, many people. So we need spaces, number two, and really looking at physical spaces. And number three is we need workforce development programs, right? Which is how do we, and there's the thing here, the Bay already has very, very powerful youth development infrastructure. Why you got YR Media, you got Bay Area Video Coalition, like Destiny Arts. I mean, there is so much cultural infrastructure already, but where do those young people go after they finish high school, after they finish their program? Where do they get hired? And I would also add is that a unique aspect of what Oakland can do in that other cities can't, and I would even say other states, is that not only do we have, hella queer power come out of here, you got the Native American AIM movement came out of here, Iwar Kun, the Filipinos who organized in the Soma, you got the Chicano arts movement, the Brown Berets, the Panthers, like we are infused with radical politics. So anything that we do, will have a racial equity lens, a feminist lens, a queer, disabled lens. And when you spend your money in Oakland, in the Bay, in California, it's very different than spending your money in Georgia, where they're doing voter disenfranchisement. So we actually not only can have a compelling model that makes business sense, we can have one that makes values sense. And so this is how we have to look at it. And when you apply the values lens, it means, okay, how do we make it so that all these kids of color can go into narrative jobs, right? Tell their stories. These kids are already, as you all know, I mean, look with the youth, how they're coming out on these issues is very bold. And we need to equip them with more than just in high school. So those are the three aspects, just so you all remember, because we're going to want y'all to be our ambassadors. Incentives, spaces, and workforce programs.
And just you just talked about a little bit, like let's think about a city like Atlanta. It wasn't that long ago that Atlanta was not Black Hollywood. It was not the place to film. It was just Atlanta. It was just Freaknik for those of us old enough to remember.
I remember.
Yeah. Now, literally, I don't know if it's the biggest, but one of the biggest studios in the world is in Atlanta. It's Tyler Perry's studio. Yeah. That happened over about 15, 20 years maybe. So it's not. We're not talking about something. We're talking about like a long time out. If we get it happening today and it starts, it can. And also, there's a cool thing about Oakland, much closer to Los Angeles. So those Hollywood people, like my friend over here, can fly up and fly back very quickly. They can drive up like he did and drive back.
Where were you from again?
I was born in East Palo Alto. Anyway, does anyone else like to weigh in on this?
They gave Tyler that. I mean, Tyler got that for like nothing. That's the whole funny thing. And he turned it out, right? So it's about people giving. People are holding on so tight right now, you know? To what, right? To what? Let go, let grow. I feel like there's so much revolution here that's just holding on to it. I've been holding on to this for a long time. I've been holding on to this script, this narrative, this space, this money. Let it go. Give it over to the next generation. And I think people really need to just kind of let go of some of that, especially around spaces. Because I'm really one about space because how many people work, like, you know, how many people in the house, you're trying to, shut up, try to write, you know, whatever. Or
I'm on Zoom.
I'm on Zoom. Go to a cafe in your closet. You can't, you know? And I'm so fortunate to have begun when the strike was on big time. I think a lot of us sort of were like, let's sort of work together. So Laura and just George and Boots and I and several other people in this room, we formed Cinemama. And Cinemama, if you haven't been to one of the events, is about space. It's about hanging out. It's about what SF Film had, was like Film House. You know, I don't know how many people tried to get the Film House thing, but got into it, and then were like, what? They kicked me to the curb afterwards, and I'm like, ready to hang with people, to talk and communicate and build my work and get into a loop with other filmmakers and have conversations and just shoot out ideas or, you know, resources. And so they have that. We don't have that here. So Cinemama is a building, you know, unit to begin that, but we need spaces where we can just like shoot the whatever, you know what I'm saying, about our ideas or our opportunities, because we're living in this insular space where social media is just wrong, right, for that. That's just wrong. It doesn't work the same way. We need to interact. We need to be engaged again. We need to, that's where the revolution is.
That's right.
It's not on TV. You heard that about, right?
That's right.
That's poets, right?
Gil Scott Heron.
It will not be televised.
Well, I mean, and sort of we connected through all this talk about what's coming together. And you said you needed a space, and me and my wife, Melissa, just opened our Who Knows Best production company.
Woo!
And we wanted to find a space that was big enough, not just for us and our needs, but that we could bring people through and have people, because that energy is collaborative. And since you've been working in our space, we have several meetings a day about.
We have meetings a day.
Yeah,
it's amazing that, I mean, this is the living truth about how that works, just down the line. And it's just like so important about connectivity. And like, could you, look at this, huh? Look at this, can you believe that? So, 2 heads are better than 1, right? Come on, old heads here too. So.
No, I dyed it this way. I dyed it this way.
But, it's about the moment of just like letting go and letting grow, right? Just let it go. Just let it go, and it's all right. You know, let's communicate. Let's be in the same space, and let's take, you know, and give space away, because people are holding on tight.
And when you can figure out a way to film here and to employ people here, as me and my wife were able to do with our last project, 1000% Me, Grown Up Mix, that we filmed here in Oakland, those people got experience. I felt like I saw people getting experience that they don't have a lot of access to. Mm-hmm. That they don't have a lot of, like a lot of this filming here is not that kind of filming. It's not that kind of, it's industrial filming. So you have these people, and we were fortunate enough that we just found out we were nominated for an Emmy for that. And one of the things I feel really proud about is all these people who live in the Bay and in Oakland now get to put that on their resume. It's just a thing that starts to make its own gravy. So I just think that,
Well, I want to add something about that. So first, you know, just to reiterate the point of how stories change people, a lot of us knew about Cosby for many, many years. We knew about R. Kelly. But it was films like what you did around Cosby that brought the stories of the survivors front and center, that created real accountability. So we have to recognize that stories will actually change the conditions, right? It was Dream Hampton's film that actually, on Lifetime, that created the momentum for R. Kelly to get arrested. Okay, so first, I just want to give you shout outs for that, because that was tremendous, especially in the Me Too era, is to give those voices a platform. And I remember what you said, Kamau, which is with 1000% Me, is that when you were creating it, you were like, oh, all the stories are in the Bay Area, right? And that was a surprise, and yet also that's the Bay Area. Like, this is the place for multiracial family making. I mean, that's what is our magic sauce over here. And I was just like, oh wow. So I feel like that's also such a strong example of what emerges. And actually, as Kamau was looking for folks, I got hella multiracial friends because we're in the Bay. And I was like, okay, let me connect you to my homegirl, Erica. And that's how it was regenerative. And so just to reemphasize is that what naturally emerges in these places when there's opportunity and investment is very magical.
Thank you, Favi. I appreciate that.
Can I also say one thing? Since I'm an archivist and I'm an old head, and I know some people are like, I'm an old head, right? That means people over a certain age, but I'm not going to say what the age is. But I believe in archive. I believe in history and legacy. And did you know that there was a black, Oscars here? Did you know there was a whole big, yes, people do know that. Why aren't we doing that? Why, you know what I'm saying? Why aren't we just picking up that, dusting it off and renaming it and having a film festival and having something here cultural that brings folks here? Black Oscars. Lola Falana was here. So we need to revitalize what's here too. There's some groundwork already here. We can just bump it up one time.
Well, but the archive thing is real. And I would say what the bigger thing, because we got Tony, Guapale, right? I love the Pointer Sisters. I listen to them every day. And I was like, where are the Guapale Pointer Sisters music academies? I'm serious. I'm like, where is the infrastructure?
Footprints, anything.
Yeah, something.
Exhibit in the museum. I don't know.
And I think that's also a part of what we want to do is to build an infrastructure to retain our stories, because just like gentrification disappears, our culture is being stolen and disappeared. And so for us to be able to retain it, we just need more power and resources.
So the final question I'll ask you, all of you, what do we want these people to do? What is the ask? What is the next step? Because this is not just about talking about stuff. That's not how you work, Favi. What do we want these people to do?
Yeah.
Okay, so. Well, big picture, we're entering an election year. So we need to be politically active in a way that is aligned with our core values, right? And that means that we need you all, by being politically active, please support us in speaking to our council members, to our mayor, to continuing to build the momentum for this, and make the case for arts and culture. Get curious about why 60% of our budget, is it 60%, Nikki, that goes to the police? Yes. 40% of our budget. Let's get curious on how we can consistently reimagine policing, especially at a time when the narratives around crime in Oakland are distorting some of the wins that we have had, right? So in order to move money, we need to question where the money is going, and we need to value arts and culture. That means, are you supporting arts institutions? Are you getting involved in figuring out, okay, how do we support Oakland filmmakers, Bay Area stories? How are we investing in artists and culture? And as you continue hearing, because now you all are gonna, you're gonna be on our list and you're gonna continue to get messages, there's gonna be a point when we're going to need to rapidly accelerate the public will for something like this, right? Because there's already been a little bit of hateration in some of these podcasts. I forgot the name of which podcast. We invited the host, but they didn't show up. We need folks to make a case for culture, because when our city is suffering some of what our city is suffering, there is an almost instantaneous desire to say, no, that's not what we need. What is culture going to do? What is your cute little arts thing going to do? And that's why I started this conversation by saying, actually, culture is power. Culture helps us shape a narrative, and we need a different narrative for this city. So continue to support us, help us build the momentum, spread the word, and be an advocate. Be an advocate for filmmakers, for artists, and recognize that we contribute immensely to political spaces. We are changing hearts and minds, and our work is important.
So I believe are there QR codes around? Did I hear that right? Can somebody confirm that for me? Yes, there are QR codes around, and really understand that there's all sorts of levels of helping here. We just want to know what everybody's talents are, what everybody's skills are. Some of you, what your pockets are doing, but there's all sorts of levels of how we can help out here. I just want to be clear that this is not the entire we are not the entire brain trust of this. If you're out there, you're part of the brain trust. There will be more meetings, more activations, more ways to help. And we also completely respect all the work that has been done in the history of this town around this stuff. And we want to be inclusive of all that because we want to get to the win of making Oakland a place that is easy to film, accessible to film, economically viable to film, and raising the next generation of workers in film and around the industry.
Woo!
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you,